work as a public servant pays you $100,000. Every month you spend $1 million. Where are you getting the rest of the money? We shouldn't waste our time. I wrote an article in 1994 warning Jammeh and the incoming junta government that they should leave people alone. Only people whose conduct triggers the response of our laws should be investigated and punished if they need to be punished. But here, the Jammeh Commission in the Gambia started selling properties of the former president. Yes, even if they are public properties, but you have to wait until after the process. The commission was not mandated to sell anything. Yes, so all these things about the sales were transparent and all of that, you know, it's neither here nor there. You are not mandated. You have no authority to sell. Well, they shouldn't sell. We're talking about transitional justice.
Yeah.
That Jammeh Commission, in a way, you can say it failed. Of course, we wouldn't allow our former presidents to staff, you know, so what you need necessarily would be given to you, maybe as part of your retirement package and things like that. So taking money and using it with your family, you know, for foolishness, because to me that is foolishness.
All right, good afternoon once again, and welcome to SS Media TV with your presenter, ML Colley. Today we have a very special guest in our studio. Of course, I believe even if you don't know the name, but once you see the face, you will know that it's a common face in the Gambia. It's been a dream for me to have him in studio, and hopefully today I'm having him. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
Grateful.
He's Doctor, sorry if I don't give you the credit that you deserve. He's Dr. Counsel J Darboe, of course, a constitutional lawyer, a very senior one for that matter. All the critical cases in the Gambia, think of someone to give it. If he escapes you, then you now have that good lawyer. Honorable, thanks for honoring our invitation, and we are grateful having you here. Today we will be discussing about, not your work as a lawyer, but honorable as a politician. Honorable as a doctor, as a politician. First, before we go into the discussion proper, please, you might, engage our viewers.
Okay. I am Counsel J Darboe from Gunjur, Kambasa, West Coast region. I went to school in Gunjur Primary School. And then from there, I went to St. Augustine's High School in 1974. And from St. Augustine's, when I was going to St. Augustine's, I had to live away from Gunjur because traveling was very difficult. So I lived in Sukuta since 1974. So as Lansong Konke used to say, one son, two mothers.
Two mothers.
Gunjur is the bad place, but Sukuta is my adopted community for the past.
So Sukuta is also another mother.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, without wasting much time, we go into the discussion proper. We want to start with, the constitution and politics, because we've known you to be a constitutional lawyer. You have a very rich background when it comes to law, and in the Gambia, most people see you to be, if not the best, but one of the best. One might wonder what changed that appetite into honorable to becoming a politician.
Well, in other parts of the world, Obama is a lawyer. Tony Blair in the United Kingdom is a lawyer. So there are many lawyers who come into politics because politics is about public life, it's about governance. So lawyers are well placed to be involved in the arena. Yes. So people come from all kinds of backgrounds to enter politics. Yeah. If you look at the backgrounds of our first president, what's his name again? Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Yes, he was a veterinary surgeon. Obviously, that is much, much farther away from politics than law. Yes. Yeah. So, yes, obviously. So they are very, very linked. In the Gambia here, hopefully, when we have a lawyer as president, a lawyer who is law-abiding, then maybe that would be the beginning of the change we really want in this country.
All right. I mean, that statement will prepare me to give you this question because, I mean, many a times people have this feeling about lawyers that they are people that even back people that, I mean, even less, I mean, they are people that, I mean, they have law, they study law, they understand law, but they also find it very easy to manipulate with the law. So you as a constitutional lawyer, I mean, you are an expert. Should Gambian trust a lawyer to fix the political problems that we have, given that, I mean, lawyers are associated with, I mean, making and, I mean...
No, say the real word. Dishonesty. No, that is a misconception. Yeah. Whatever sphere of life you are engaged in, whether you are an imam, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever you are, if you want to be dishonest, you can be dishonest. Yes. So obviously there is no profession where you can say it is a bad one. We ask Islamic scholars about this, and it, you know, the general position is that it depends on the person. Yes, it depends on the person. So, so that is the general position. Yeah.
Let's talk about NUP. What drive you to, I mean, becoming an ally of NUP until they choose you to be? I mean,
no, I wasn't an ally of the NUP when we came out of the dispute over the UDP flag bearer selection. You know, I started a WhatsApp group in Gunjur. Certain people approached me and said that's what they want to do. I said, yes, you're welcome. So we started in the middle of September after all those issues. And then at around the 25th of October, no, around the 25th of September or early October, I was in court one day. In fact, I was attending Hussein Obojang's case at the High Court. And I was receiving these calls, but I couldn't. I was in the courtroom. I couldn't answer. So I sent a text message to the person and said, if you can leave me a message, I'm in court right now. And so he sent me a message to say he's Mr. Gassama. Mr. Gassama is an executive member of the NUP. And he said they wanted to see me. So I wasn't an ally in the sense of being a member or whatever, no. So the NUP's flag bearer, Mr. Ablai Jammeh, Allah bless his soul, passed. And so they were looking for somebody who can come and lead the party, because their founding philosophy is that all the founding members of the NUP, none of the founding members of the NUP should run for the leadership of the party, because they don't want anybody to own the party. And if a founding member becomes Secretary General or party flag bearer, then there is a tendency for people to want to own political parties.
In essence, you are building a single person rather than a system.
Rather than a system, rather than an institution that can outlast you. So they said they don't want that. So they look for their leader from outside. In fact, Ablai Jammeh, again, may Allah bless his soul, was also headhunted and recruited to lead the party. He wasn't a founding member.
He wasn't in the founding member?
No, he wasn't a founding member. So they said they checked everything, certain personalities within the public space. And so they decided that I was the most suitable person. Yeah, so they did everything. They checked backgrounds and whether you are engaging in insulting people over public discussions and things like that. Yeah.
All right, I mean, that will take us to NUP and Mr. Lamin J Darboe. Lamin J Darboe being the flag bearer of NUP. Now we will start with, I mean, presidential power. I believe you are an expert again. You understand the constitution of the Gambia. I mean, you know those powers that are given to the president. I mean, should you be elected as the president of the Republic of the Gambia, do you intend to reduce those powers, or will we see, I mean, like other presidents do, this and this is what I would do if I'm comfortable with the powers that I have?
Actually, the powers given to the president in the Constitution are not excessive. Yes, I know the founding president got some powers that disturb the balance of how you separate power. Say, for example, National Assembly members, notwithstanding the fact that they are voted by the people, can be expelled from the National Assembly if they are expelled from their party. So, for example, if you are a member of the APRC and for some reason you happen to be in a dispute with the president and he decided to expel you from the APRC, notwithstanding the fact that you are elected by the people, he can expel you, and then once he expels you, then the nationals, your seat becomes vacant. You have to go for a by-election for your parliamentary seat. But that has been changed since the coming into force of President Barrow in 2017. So those changes were made in 2018 to the Constitution. So that, you can say, is an executive, is an excessive power that was given to the president in the Constitution. Once people elected somebody, one person cannot just come and start dismissing them one by one. Okay, another power is, again, I'm dealing now with the constitutional arms of government. So the national is one arm, the judiciary is another arm. There are two routes to dismiss a judge, or to dismiss a judge from his position as a superior court judge. The president can do it, and the National Assembly can do it. You set up a kind of procedure where members of the National Assembly would ultimately vote on it. But that route was never utilized by President Jammeh. What he used to do is, if you do something that he didn't like, obviously he'll just call you and dismiss you. Of course, given the dispensation at the time, we all know what was happening. In the era of administration. So if he said you are dismissed, well, you better leave the country, especially if you are not a Gambian. Yeah, because otherwise you may be arrested. So that power is there, but it shouldn't be there. That should not be a presidential power. It's still in the Constitution. Yeah, that one is still there, but the National Assembly one was removed. But so other than that, governance, because that's what the president's role is. Yeah, it is the most rampant of the arms of government. The presidency is a very, very big institution, yes. But the Constitution itself cannot implement, the Constitution cannot implement itself. So if there are excesses, it is more the president than the document itself. So the document is okay. Yes, it is okay. So here and there may be excessive powers given to the president. But for me, the question you ask is, what am I going to do after the presidency?
Becoming the president.
Yes. What am I going to do after I leave the presidency? So that is the problem. A lot of the people wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. And it's not Gambia alone, it's in many countries in Africa. If you have nothing to go to, then the tendency is to remain in power for the rest of your life. If you're going to do that violently, you will do it violently. If you're going to do it by intimidating people, you will do it by intimidating people. And so yes, But the power itself can be managed in such a way that you can act within those powers without doing anything excessive.
Without doing anything excessive, I think that is clear. I mean, now let's talk about corruption in government. I mean, many a times people allege that there is corruption in the current government. Let's assume that Mr. J Darboe is elected come 2026 as the President of the Republic of the Gambia. What will be your first step?
Well, my first priority would be to build a system that would deal with the issue of corruption. So some people would say corruption is in all parts of the world. I don't think somebody in power, somebody in government should utter that. Yes, I think if you build a system whereby if $10 comes into the public coffers, you know that there is $10 is there, and nobody can take that $10, without going through the proper procedures. Yeah. But say, for example, you don't have any system, you don't have any procedures. $10 it comes into the system and it goes out. Nobody knows where it went to. This is the reason why there is corruption in government. It is not that people are inherently bad. No. It is because people can do things without consequences. Say, for example, you step out of your door here. You found $10,000 is at the door. You look here, there, everywhere. You didn't see anybody. Yeah. You can pick that $10,000 and put it in your pocket and go. Yeah. So this is what happens in public life. If there is no system, then people can take money out of the government coffers and nothing comes out of it. Now, people would say, but how do you know? There is no proof. Look, we know that you have no other way of earning income, no other income source other than your work as a public servant. Your work as a public servant pays you $100,000. Every month you spend $1 million. Where are you getting the rest of the money? We shouldn't waste our time. If you go to places like Rwanda, yes, you build this studio here. Your income is $10. The studio is $1 million. Yes. And you are also working for the government. You will tell them where you got the rest of the money, or they'll take your studio and sell it. Yeah. We shouldn't waste each other's time. If you're a business person, I can understand there may be some doubt under those circumstances.
But in that regard, in the Gambia, some will say, well, I mean, supporters of the government will say we have introduced an anti-corruption commission and justice.
Yes, that's true.
But you still see that to be not enough? Or?
No, not enough. Because the Anti-Corruption Commission, should be dealing with the reality. Yeah, the reality, not giving us a mirage and saying, oh, we are doing a wonderful job, making pronouncements here and there. Say, for example, the Anti-Corruption Commission would maybe say, we investigated, but we didn't find anything. So obviously, maybe it's just an allegation, the person was not corrupt. Unless you build systems, it will be very, very difficult to police public life the way it should be policed. Yeah. So the system must be there. Don't just say we created a structure. That structure must be transparent. It must itself be accountable.
All right, that's clear. The structure must itself be accountable before people will. I mean, now let's talk about transitional justice. I mean, we've had TRRC. They made a lot of recommendations, but I mean, what is your assessment to the transitional justice process in this country as a lawyer?
Well, the transitional justice process, say for example, that was the Jana Commission. Yes, it's part of the mechanisms of transitional justice in the country. Okay, you said, again, systems is everything. Governance is everything. If you go to other countries, say, for example, the Western European democracies, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all these are democratic countries. So the issues of public life are transparent for everybody to look at and to decide whether there is accountability in public life or not. Take the Jana Commission. The Constitution is very explicit. You are just an investigatory body. Yes. At the end of the process, you make recommendations to the government, the executive arm of government headed by the president. You make recommendations there. But here, the Jana Commission in the Gambia started selling properties of the former president. Yes, even if they are public properties, but you have to wait until after the process. The commission was not mandated to sell anything. Yes, so all these things about the sales were transparent and all of that, it's neither here nor there. You are not mandated. You have no authority to sell any of those things.
So in essence, you're suggesting that they did an oversight.
They what?
They did an oversight.
Well, they shouldn't sell. We're talking about transitional justice.
Yeah.
That Jana Commission, in a way, you can say it failed. Of course, we know the properties, the assets that were taken out of the government by the former president. We know that for people like me, we didn't have to go through the commission to understand what was happening in the country. We know what was happening in the country. We wrote about it, not out of any malice, but because we are citizens and we were looking at the public space in the best interest of the country. So we know there were issues there, issues of accountability, or issues of governance and things like that. Those things were there, they were present. So if you want to investigate, by all means, set up a commission, investigate it. But at the end of the day, you are not mandated to sell, so you shouldn't sell. Other people would do that. They will do the selling. Why did they sell the properties? That is a question that really needed to be asked. But again, a lack of governance. It was an exciting period. We just came out of the 2016 December elections. 2017, 2018, there was a lot of excitement in the country. So people thought they were just after the former president. No, you don't run government like that. You don't run public life like that. You look at the larger interest of the country and then act in accordance with that larger interest. Don't just say, okay, it's Jammeh, whatever we do, people would turn a blind eye and they wouldn't say anything. No, we want you to do whatever you are assigned to do transparently and within the law. The Jana Commission, a lot of things came out, but it had a fundamental failure in selling properties that it has no mandate to sell. Under the law, under the Constitution, it says you can preserve them. Preserve them by all means, but don't sell them. You don't have that mandate. Yeah.
Should in case, the NUP wins presidency in 2026, what will be your first step in restoring the transitional justice period?
Well, for me, the fundamental project would be to set up a system that can ensure that nobody takes the government's properties without the rest of the population knowing, without accountability, even if you are the president. When there is a system, obviously, you have to go by that system. If you refuse to abide by the system would obviously capture you at some point. Yeah, and you cannot say I am in charge of the police and everybody else, so nothing can happen to me. Yeah. So if you were watching the news about 2-3 weeks ago, the king of Britain, King Charles, arrested his own brother. Yeah, he reported him to the police, and the police arrested him. Ordinarily, can you imagine that a president's brother been arrested by the police? Yes, and subjected to rigorous questioning and facing possible prosecution. And it's not easy. Yeah. So for us, certain people are above the law, and you cannot do that. You cannot put anybody above the law.
Right. I mean, let's talk about security forces and their loyalty to the government. I mean, past governments were accused of using, especially the Jammeh era, he was accused of using the security, that is the police and the army, to, I mean, for political protection, and that even made him stay long in power. How will you convince Gambians that the army and the police will serve the constitution, not presidents?
Yes, the army and the police and all the arms of the security services, like immigration, even GRA is among the services. You know, they should be answerable not to individuals but to the constitution. Yeah. Yes, civilian control. You'll be controlled by the civilian leader, the president, but that doesn't mean that you should do whatever the president wants. You operate according to the best interest of the country. Yes. So what happened was true. Really, the security services can do a lot of things. But even today, sometimes you meet with the police on the roads, and the kinds of things that they do, you know, are not in accordance with the law. It's just the way we do things in this country. But my first priority would be to set up a system of governance where citizens are protected at all levels of society. Yes, it is not easy, I have to admit. People will come and tell you, no, you shouldn't open yourself up to scrutiny and all of that. But I believe I can open myself up to scrutiny. I know, inshallah, if I leave, after the presidency, if I become the president, and which I believe, inshallah, it will happen, I know that I have somewhere to go. Yes. I don't have to use my time in government to steal all of the government's money.
To make a life.
Yeah, to make a life for yourself. After all, what are you going to do with all of these things? If you have 3, 4, 5 homes, is that not enough? Yeah. What are you going to do with all of those things? We wouldn't allow our former presidents to starve, you know. So what you need necessarily would be given to you, maybe as part of your retirement package and things like that. So taking money and using it with your family, you know, for foolishness, because to me that is foolishness. Taking money and pretending that you manufacture money, when in actual fact, you are just desecrating the public trust. Yeah, the trust that was placed in you by the government, by the people of the country, is what you are betraying. You know, you don't have those monies; they're not yours.
Now let's talk about political alliance. If winning the presidency requires alliance with politicians who previously supported bad governance, or let's say who were, I mean, in other way, one or the other way connected to the previous governments that are labeled as bad government, would you keep yourself allied with them, or are you seeing Mr. J Darboe keeping that principle of things?
Well, no, in these cases, it's not a principle. Say, for example, I remembered when the PPP government was overthrown. Then I was in the United States at the law school there, Knoxville, Tennessee, in the state of Tennessee. I wrote an article in 1994 warning Jammeh and the incoming junta government that they should leave people alone. Only people whose conduct triggers the response of our laws should be investigated and punished if they need to be punished. Yes. Only people whose conduct triggers the response of our laws. Now, here you are, you're looking at a government here. Yes, ordinary supporters. Some people will support you, whatever you are, for reasons that on the surface, really, if you look at it rationally, it's not based on anything, yeah, other than some sentimental connection to the person in office. Yeah, the person is in office every day is spending millions on himself. There's a possibility you wouldn't even get $1,000 is from that person for a whole year. So why would you support people regardless of who they are? Yes. Can't you see the country? That to me is more important than supporting one individual. We must have that sense of patriotism to accept that the important entity is not the president. The important entity is the country. You protect the country, you protect it for everybody.
You are known primarily for law, not an economist. Why should people trust you to fix unemployment, inflation, and poverty?
Well, who told you that any of our presidents were experts in all of these areas? Me, at least, I'm a historian. People know me as a lawyer, obviously. But me, I'm a historian. I've been involved in politics for a very, very long time. If I told you I was warning the PPP government in big articles since 1992, that would probably come as a surprise to you. But I was.
In fact, it was a surprise. It is a surprise. We will be willing to go through that article.
Okay, no, articles. I've written more than about 100 articles from 1992.
Perhaps we will make follow-up so that we will go through those articles.
Yes, I will. If you give me your email, I'll send you the article I wrote.
Okay.
On the 1st of, it was published by the Daily Observer on the 1st of August, 1994. That was about a week after the President Jammeh came to power. Yes, you look at that article and then decide for yourself whether this man knows what he's talking about or not. You know, for me, it's not saying I'm this, I'm that. The objective material is there. I told you I wrote more than 100 articles, and I did. Yeah, I did. So you look at those articles, and then you begin to understand whether this man knows what he's doing or not. But for me, whether I'm an expert in economics or not, it's not the issue. The issue is understanding government, understanding governance, and governing the country in the best interest of the people of the Gambia. So you are going to hire cabinet ministers. You are going to hire permanent secretaries and other people in the top echelons of the administration of the executive arm of government. So you are going to be relying on them. You are asking me whether I understand economics or not. Me, at least I have 5 degrees. 5 degrees, that's what I have. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree. I have 3 master's degrees, and I have a doctorate degree. The president doesn't have any of those, but he's managing the country. Yeah, he's building these roads. The road that I used to come here, Sukuta is very close to where we are, but really without roads, traveling is very, very difficult. Yes. So it's just your, what is your focus? What are you interested in, as far as the country is concerned? And by the way, people can be highly educated, but utterly dishonest and no use to the country when it comes to legacy and things like that. But no, because if I said, yes, I have a degree in economics, you can say, okay, how about agriculture? How about medicine? How about public health? What do you know about those? Yeah, so obviously that's why they call it a government. You bring in specialists, subject area experts to manage the different areas of government. Yeah.
Now let's talk about personal accountability. If after 5 years, let's assume that you are made president, and if after 5 years your governments fail to deliver the reforms you promised, will you publicly accept responsibility?
Well, yes, absolutely, I will. But I know that is not an issue as far as I am concerned. If I say I'll deliver, I'll deliver. I'll give you an example. Take Singapore as an example. Singapore, Gambia, independence, same year, 1965. Yeah. Singapore today is as developed as the United Kingdom. It's as developed as the United States. Yes. And Gambia, look at your road here. Even coming to your place is very difficult. Yeah. Because that shouldn't happen. Yeah, if you govern properly, you govern for the country, then you don't need to run away. Ask yourself why African leaders always run away from their countries after their tenure as presidents. Yes, why do they do that? Because you know very well that you were not governing the country for the best interests of the people. You were governing the country for yourself. So you are afraid you may be held accountable. Me, I don't want to live anywhere else. Yeah, I don't want to live anywhere else other than in the Gambia.
Let's talk about youth and unemployment before we talk about economic development and other stuff. A lot of youths are frustrated. They have lost hope in this country. What measures will Mr. Darboe put in place to make sure that these youths that are leaving our country for Europe regain that hope in living here and having that belief that I can live in this country and make myself proud?
Well, say for example, youth unemployment is a complex area, and we have to be honest about it. But you use the key word there. I was discussing this with somebody, a friend of mine, based in the United States, about a month ago. He was on a visit here, Demba Balde of Gainako. Demba said, the back way is as a result of a lack of hope by young people. Yeah. So that key word is hope. That is what the government can do for you. Create the enabling environment for people to be what they want to be. Yes. So you can create a fund, a major fund, not $1 million is or $100 million is, maybe $1 billion is. A fund that would allow our youths with the ability to become entrepreneurs or who are entrepreneurs, but all they need is probably $200,000 to start a business that possibly could blossom into, a multi-million-dollar business. So you give them that hope, they'll stay in the country. But also, the youths must be willing to work. You cannot want to enjoy what you don't have. Yes, if you don't have $1,000 and you want to a month and you want to live on $1,000 a day, obviously that is foolishness. It will not work.
It will be difficult.
You are just setting yourself up for trouble. Yeah, but we can give them realistic hopes. We can say, okay, there is a fund here, but we're not going to just take the money and give it to you. You have to give us a collateral like you do at the banks. Yeah, if a bank decides to accept your application and give you $1 million, you're going to leave something with the bank. Because otherwise, the next day you can just go take the $1 million and buy a car. You don't even know how to drive, so you take the $1 million, buy a car, run around the streets, causing accidents and things like that. But accidents and other things are just incidental. The key there would be, they've given you $1 million to develop yourself.
And you've misused it.
Yes, and you misuse all of it. Yeah, we must not protect anybody to the extent of saying they should not be accountable even if they did something wrong. So if we are youth, we say, okay, there is an empowerment fund here for you. What do you want to do? You probably want to set up a big carpentry workshop, a big metal workshop, other projects that can earn you a living. We think there is magic in overseas, but mainly Europe and the United States. No, there is not. I spent 8 years in the United States and 25 years. I went to the UK in '99, so I spent 27 years in the UK. But I decided to come back because I know that I'm ready to live in this country. I've prepared myself for that. Yeah. So people must be able to prepare themselves. Don't be in too much of a haste. You see your friends, you see people coming home with money. You don't know where they are getting that money, and you want to venture into it as well. You're just setting yourself up for trouble. Life is about reality. Yes. Even the president, you see him today, you think, oh, he just became president. No, he had other lives before he came to
before
the
becoming president.
Yeah.
And let's talk about agriculture before we go into the development. I mean, some time ago we hosted, Dr. Gajigo, and where we talked about agriculture and all those failures that we encountered in our agriculture. And we did talk about Sapo as an example. We talked about Sapo being a place that should have, reignited our agriculture. But on the contrary, what is happening now is different from what we were yearning for. As an aspiring presidential candidate, or let's say once you become a president, what will be your first step that you would do to restore Sapo?
Well, again, SAPO, the resources were there. When SAPO was created, we were in high school. So we know what was happening. And what happened at SAPO is what is happening even today. $100 is consent for agriculture. You spend $90 of the $100 buying fuel and big vehicles. Yes, for people who live in Banjul. They don't even go to the provinces where the agricultural projects are. Yeah. You really believe that project would succeed? You attend seminars, organize seminars at the hotels here, you are traveling internationally, and you wouldn't even set foot in Sapo, the locus of the agricultural project. Sapo was an opportunity, not to reignite, because at that time people were farming. So you are not reigniting anything. The situation was already there. It was present there. Yeah. But Sapo represents the failure of government in this country. And it happened during the PPP government. Yeah. People say Jawara was this peaceful. Look, you have no right to be violent as president. We don't care if you are peaceful or not. Just follow the law. That's all. Follow the law and utilize our resources for the best interest of the country. So SAPO failed not because the monies were not present in the country, but because the governance was not there. You put money in a bucket. I come take some. You come take some. Everybody takes a little. Yeah. And nobody knows who is taking from that bucket. You think there'll be any money there eventually?
There will not.
There'll be no money.
Maybe if you take $10, I will take 200.
Exactly. At the end of the day, there is no accountability. So for us, our biggest problem is governance. Yeah, governance.
Let's talk about economic development. It's like we don't have much time. We have 7 minutes to wrap up this show. Looking at the Gambian dollars, it is gradually decreasing. That is even reflecting onto the foodstuffs that we buy because the prices, if every time you go to the market, you will hear it. The dollar is decreasing, so we have to also sell products to people so that we will also have this, our profit. So as an aspiring presidential candidate, what are some of the policies that you've put in place so that whenever you comes into office, you will, address this measure?
Well, we need to think about productive sectors within the economy. That is very important. So what are the sectors that can bring money, that can bring foreign exchange? Yeah. If you are able to, if SAPO succeeded, Gambia could have been exporting rice, yes, to other countries within Africa. That is a possibility. Yeah. But SAPO failed. Now, if I ask you, what do you produce in the Gambia here? We don't even produce matches. Yeah. Even matches we import. Maybe we started producing them now. Now, if you import everything, which means your earning capacities are very, very low, and you need to buy foreign currency from businessmen in order to send that overseas so that you can import goods like rice. So where are you going to get the foreign currency? Yeah, you probably get it, but at a much, much higher rate to the dollar. For example, today, if somebody sends you £1 from the United Kingdom, you get about $100 from it, especially in the market, in the black market. £1. When I was going to the UK in 1999, the rate was 1 to 17. Before that, the rate of the dollar C to the dollar was 1 to 1. Yes, but today the dollar, there is about $80 to $1. The inflation is just too much. It's because we are not producing anything. We are not building anything. Nobody is buying anything from us, but we are buying everything from overseas. So there will be inflation. We need to look at our productive sectors. For example, the money that we are using importing rice, and rice is the staple food of the country. So obviously it's going to be a huge amount of money.
Let's talk about the judicial independence. I believe you are, as a lawyer, that will be as much as important to you as any other thing. I mean, assuming that you become a president and members of your party or even your cabinet are caught in one thing, would you allow them to face the due process of the law without any form of interference?
Okay, I'll give you an example and then answer it in one, or I'll say yes, I'll allow the law to take its course. The reason why I mentioned Singapore, say for example, I'm assuming the four of you here are a team. So say for example, you go into government and, one of you is taking resources from the government and not caring about the fact that he's not entitled to it. What would you do? Lee Kuan Yew answered that question in one of his closest friends, and political allies, was somebody, who started the corruption thing in government a lot earlier, So he was behaving like African leaders, because really, treating public funds as your property is more common in Africa. Right? Yeah, it's prevalent in other parts of the world. Say, for example, the Middle East, the Far East, Southeast Asia. It's prevalent in those countries. So Lee Kuan Yew decided that he was going to take the law. He was going to allow the law to take its course. The wives come, the family members come, the colleagues in the struggle, to get independence for Singapore, they all came and said, you cannot do this. He said, no, we have to do this. If we want a better country, we'll allow the law to take its course. So he was prosecuted. But before a verdict could be reached, he killed himself because, those parts of the world, people are sane. Yeah. People don't want to be affected by same. He knew what he did was wrong. Yeah. And now Singapore is the story that we hope we can recreate in our country.
I mean, what will be your final message to people out there that are viewing this episode? What will be your final message?
Well, I would say this is an election year. Vote on the basis of competence, on the basis of ability. Who is the candidate who can transform this country? Parties don't govern, people govern. You know a lot of the candidates. Look at their track records. Try to understand what they did in public life for the betterment of this country. If you vote the wrong people for any kind of reason, and I know there are many, I'm not going to waste my time with those. We all know why we support particular candidates. Support the candidate who can build the systems, because this 2026 is a building year. Yes, we have no structures. You need somebody who understands governance, somebody who can build structures, and to make this country to the extent of its ability and economic resources as powerful as countries like the United States. Not in terms of their resources, but in terms of the way we govern ourselves. That is the important thing. If you govern yourself properly, then others will be starving and you will be surviving. Yeah, it's just like us here. We all have $100,000. Yes, Mr. Sane goes on and buys and spend all his $100,000 within a week. Obviously, you're going to fail. There's no doubt about that. Spend within your means and make sure the government is open, accountable, and transparent so that everybody knows what is going on. It is the biggest legacy you can leave for your country. Yeah. Keep yourself within the law and stay away from public funds.
May the law be with you, Mr. Darboe.
Yeah.
All right, that's Dr. J Darboe, of course, party leader of the NUP National Unity Party. I mean, we delve into very, very interesting issues ranging from personal accountability, I mean, the use of power, constitution, and other stuff. We did talk about youth unemployment, and in economic development and other stuff. Until we come your way next week, bye-bye from me, Modern. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I'm grateful.